Number 8. A surprisingly relaxed set. War films often come with stories of grueling shoots and on-set tension, but this production defied that expectation. Despite large-scale stunts, pyrotechnics, and complex logistics, cast members consistently described the atmosphere as friendly and easygoing. The camaraderie audiences see on screen wasn't just acting, it reflected genuine relationships formed during filming. Part of that relaxed energy came from the ensemble dynamic. Eastwood, Sutherland, Savalas, and the supporting cast developed an easy rapport that translated directly into their performances. When characters joke and banter in the film, there's an unforced quality that stiff direction couldn't manufacture. The production allowed room for spontaneity, and actors took advantage. That atmosphere also influenced the final product's tone. A stressed, combative set often produces tension audiences can sense even unconsciously. Here, the laid-back environment helped performances feel natural and lived in. What could have been a chaotic shoot became something closer to a working vacation, and the film is better for it. Number 9. Savalas played a Western. Not every actor approached the material as a war story. Telly Savalas made an unusual choice for his role as Big Joe. He performed the character like a frontier outlaw rather than a military sergeant. His posture, line delivery, and attitude borrowed more from Western films than combat dramas. It was an unconventional decision that added unexpected texture to the ensemble. The Western influence showed in small details. Savalas carried himself with a gunslinger's swagger, treating chaos like an inconvenience rather than a crisis. His interactions felt less like military protocol and more like a poker game between rivals. That energy created friction with the more grounded performances around him, friction that made scenes more dynamic. What could have felt out of place instead enriched the group dynamic. Big Joe became a figure audiences couldn't quite categorize, which made him more interesting. Savalas understood that genre boundaries are flexible, and his instinct to borrow from another tradition gave the film a flavor nobody planned but everyone benefited from. Number 10. Explosions got too real. Action sequences in the film weren't just impressive, they were genuinely dangerous. Explosions were staged with margins that modern productions would never allow. Pyrotechnics detonated close to actors and crew, creating visceral moments that carried real risk. Safety standards have evolved dramatically since 1970, and watching the footage now makes that evolution obvious. The risks weren't taken carelessly. Filmmakers believed that proximity to real explosions produced reactions no acting could replicate. When characters flinch or scramble, there's an authenticity rooted in genuine adrenaline. That philosophy prioritized visual impact over caution, a trade-off that defined much of the era's stunt work. What's remarkable is how those dangerous conditions enhanced the film's playful tone. Scenes meant to be comedic still carry tension because the danger underneath was real. Audiences sense something raw in the action, even during lighter moments. That blend of humor and hazard gives the movie an edge that safer productions simply can't replicate. Number 11. Comedy hid the message. Laughter can be a weapon, and this film knew exactly how to use it. The humor wasn't just entertainment, it was camouflage. Beneath the jokes lies pointed criticism of war's absurdity, wasted lives, and hollow authority. By making audiences laugh, the filmmakers smuggled in ideas that a straightforward drama might have delivered too bluntly or too obviously. The approach was strategic. Direct anti-war messaging in 1970 risked alienating mainstream viewers or attracting unwanted controversy. Comedy provided cover. Audiences could enjoy the heist, cheer the misfits, and absorb the subversion without feeling lectured. The film never stops to explain its themes. It trusts viewers to sense them underneath the entertainment without needing guidance. What emerges is something rare, a movie that critiques without preaching, the absurdity of military logic, the randomness of survival, the emptiness of official heroism. All of it lands softly because it arrives wrapped in wit. That protective layer of humor is why the message endures. Viewers who came for fun left with something more, whether they realized it or not. Number 12. Eastwood's quiet protest. Amid chaos and comedy, one performance stays remarkably still. Kelly plays Number 12. Eastwood's quiet protest. Amid chaos and comedy, one performance stays remarkably still. Kelly plays Adkin deliberately with restraint, refusing to match the energy swirling around him. While other characters shout, joke, and scramble, Kelly observes, cool, detached, almost skeptical of the entire enterprise. That minimalism wasn't laziness or disinterest, it was a conscious artistic choice. The contrast works on multiple levels. Against louder personalities like Oddball and Big Joe, Kelly's silence becomes its own statement. He's not a cheerleader for the mission or the military structure around him. His subdued reactions suggest a man who sees through the absurdity but presses forward anyway. That quiet resistance defines his character more than any speech could. Eastwood's approach also reflects the tensions behind the scenes. Frustrated by creative disagreements, he channeled that energy into performance. Kelly's detachment mirrors Eastwood's own skepticism about the project's direction. What audiences interpret as cool confidence may actually be something closer to protest, an actor asserting control through stillness when words failed him elsewhere. Number 13. Bureaucracy is the real joke. Enemies with guns aren't the biggest obstacle in this story. Paperwork and procedure are. Throughout the film, military systems fail in ways both comic and pointed. Orders arrive late, get misunderstood, or simply make no sense at all. The chain of command exists, but it rarely helps anyone accomplish anything useful on the ground. The satire stays subtle. There are no speeches about institutional failure or heavy-handed scenes mocking generals. Instead, incompetence reveals itself naturally through small moments: delayed communications, confused officers, decisions made by people nowhere near the action. Authority becomes an obstacle rather than an asset, and the protagonists succeed by routing around it entirely. This quiet critique reframes who the real antagonist is. German soldiers pose physical threats, but bureaucracy poses existential ones. The system designed to support these men actively hinders them at every turn. By treating institutional dysfunction as a background noise rather than foreground drama, the film makes its point without ever slowing down to argue it. Number 14. Germans weren't caricatures. War films often reduce the enemy to cartoons, snarling villains without depth or humanity, but this movie takes a different path. German officers appear calm, professional, and entirely rational. They're adversaries, but they're not monsters. That choice carries moral weight most audiences sense, even if they don't consciously register it. The restraint was intentional. Making enemies human complicates the clean logic of wartime storytelling. If the other side isn't evil, then conflict becomes tragedy rather than triumph. The film doesn't dwell or miss tension, but it doesn't ignore it either. German characters are allowed dignity that propaganda-style film would have denied them completely. This approach matters because it disrupts easy viewing. Audiences expecting to hate the enemy are instead asked to see professionals doing their jobs, not unlike the protagonists themselves. That moral ambiguity enriches the story considerably. Victory feels different when the defeated weren't demons. The film earns complexity by refusing the simplest path.